Our next guest has an amazing film here called Invasion, and his name is Abner. Where is he? Where's he at? Oh, come on up, Abner. Abner Benaim. Give it up. Woo!
Thank you. Good night. Good evening. So yeah, let's sit down. I'm from Panama. I was born and raised in Panama City, Panama. And growing up in the 80s in Panama, you would hear about Noriega, the general. You know, he was all around. I actually went to the same school with his daughter. For some reason, they went to the Jewish school, the military in Panama. And we were, you know, I wasn't her friend. She was 1 year older than me, but she was nice, and we all respected her. And you know, sort of kept her apart from her dad. And in '85, more or less, things got really bad with Noriega, and you know, what used to be rumors became wide open news that he was doing really horrible stuff, and you know, people started protesting in the streets and stuff like that, and then Bush father got really upset at him for reasons that we still don't know for sure, but you know, they wanted him out, so he started to become this evil person on CNN until finally the invasion came and he was out. And you know, if you saw the movie, that's what the movie is about. But my story tonight is about how I something that's not in the film is how I finally got to meet Noriega. He was in jail for 20 years in Miami and then 2 years in France, and then he came back to Panama to serve time, and he's still in jail. So when he did come back to Panama, I talked to his daughter and he said, you know, I want to interview him for this film I'm making about the invasion, because previously I had talked to him. I talked to her about making a film about her father, but he, for other reasons that we don't really know, hasn't given that many interviews. The last one he gave publicly was about 15 years ago with Larry King. So it was really exciting for me, obviously, to go and talk to him. You know, this guy who he was friends with Fidel. He was, you know, buddies with Gaddafi. He used to be friends with Bush, and then, you know, they got divorced. But you know, so I nagged quite a bit to her and to other members of the family until finally I got an idea. I said, listen, forget about the movie. I just want to go visit him. And they let me, and I went to jail in Panama. He's in a very beautiful place, actually, right next to the Panama Canal. It's a jungle, and it used to be a U.S. base, Army base, and it was turned over into a prison. So he has a little house. And I remember the day I walked in, it was raining, so it was very dramatic, sort of like this. And I walked in, and there he is, the general. You know, the guy I had heard so much, and I had seen him before, but he was young and at the height of his power, and you know, we feared him. This was a guy you feared. You know, you wouldn't joke about anything that had to do with the general when he was in power. People would disappear. There was a very famous case of one of the opposition leaders that was beheaded, and the head wasn't found. It was in the border between Panama and Costa Rica, and they said the head was thrown in Costa Rica and the body in Panama. And you know, it was for real. I mean, it was scary times. And so when I finally got to meet him, the first thing he said was, "Look at these avocados. They're great. They're like butter." He said that to his daughter, and then he said, "Hey, you're Abner. Nice to meet you." And it's just, you know, just a man, just a guy. 25 years later, he's older, and he had a stroke, so one of his arms is not functioning well, and he had a military jacket on and a collection of caps from all the battalions that he led on the wall, and but it was very strange. So immediately you have this thing. I guess most filmmakers here have it. When you sense that something is really good for your film, it's like you turn on, like you wish you had a camera in your eyes, you know, and a microphone in your ears, and like, okay, this is a scene. And not only what he said to me, but just getting there and talking about the avocado, and talking about the simple stuff. The air conditioning, is it too hot? Is it humid outside? You know, the silly stuff was what stuck in my mind. I remember I left after talking for about 3 hours. I left, and then all that was in my mind when when I was thinking about what had happened was I started recreating a scene that I would put in my film if I could, where he goes out, and then I changed the avocado for mangoes, because and I'll tell you why. I mean, this has some meaning, but I would see him picking a mango and eating it in front of the camera now, and then we would sit down and the crew. If anyone saw the film, we show the crew shooting the movie, so we would first talk about how the mango is good or whatever, and then we would do the scene, and that's because he about 10 days before, this is one of those legends or something that became a legend, but it's based on a true story. About 10 days before the invasion, he was in his headquarters. He had two headquarters, one in a poor neighborhood in Panama, and one right in front of the U.S. military bases. The Panama Canal, since it was done, had U.S. military bases on it, and you would literally just cross the street, and you were in Panamanian territory, and then you could cross it again, and you would be inside the Panama Canal zone. And for that, you would need to go through checkpoints with military police from the U.S. It was really weird. But one day, about 10 days before the invasion, he walked out of his office and went over to where the U.S. military were, and he just took a mango and ate it in front of them. He told me that he did it in order to check out their psyche, to see if they were aggressive or not at that point. But in any way, but it's a symbolic story, because he also told me that when he was and he's told this story before, not only to me, when he was a child growing up as a poor kid, they would go and sneak into the canal zone, steal mangoes, and then be chased away by the MPs. So that was, it was something that, like, he wanted to eat that mango in front of the MPs. So that scene basically stuck in my head. In the end, I did go back and record audio. He didn't want to be on camera. And then in the editing room for about 2 months, I had a cut where we didn't even use his voice for several reasons, for narrative reasons, for ideological reasons. And then towards the end, when we were about to close the film, we put in the last phrases of the film is his voice. But so I guess that scene I was talking about could be the beginning of a new film. I'm talking to them about it, about him in jail. That's it. Thanks.
Cheers. Give it up, you guys, for Abner. And check out his movie, Invasion.